Hey y'all, GM, welcome to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. This is a very special and important mini episode. I was able to grab a few minutes with Nadya from Pussy Riot and Trippy of Trippy Labs, who are behind the UkraineDAO, which is raising money for the situation over in Ukraine, specifically around medical care for Ukrainian civilians and soldiers, and really wanted to chat with them at least briefly. We could only grab about 20 minutes to talk about the work they're doing, highlight the work they're doing, and talk to Nadya generally about the situation. For those who don't know, Pussy Riot and Nadya is an activist, artist collective based out of Russia. This was a surreal moment for me. I first heard about Nadya and Pussy Riot from a 60 Minutes segment like 10 years ago. I was probably 16 or 17 years old, saw this segment about these feminists, these like punk feminists who were protesting Putin and were actually arrested for it. Nadya served years in prison in Russia. And was just blown away by them as a young woman who was around their age. So getting to talk to Nadya is special to me, and we will hopefully have her back on for a future episode where we can go a little bit more in depth on the work that she has done and since her days of being arrested and now as we move forward. So Trippy, who is also on this call, we look forward to having back. He's an incredible artist and also an activist in a variety of ways. So very grateful to them both for joining us. It was a little chaotic. Nadya was coming off of a plane. I think Trippy was also in transit. So please forgive any sort of audio discrepancies or audio challenges we may have had. Just felt like it was important to get this out as soon as possible, and very grateful to them both for the work they're doing and for hopping on. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. This is a really special episode to me. I am so incredibly grateful to be joined by Trippy of Trippy Labs, an artist collective, and Nadya from Pussy Riot. Many of you may be familiar with both Trippy and Nadya, but I am so excited to have them here because they are the founding team behind UkraineDAO, which has raised several millions of dollars for the situation in Ukraine over the last several days. We're going to be talking about that. But first, I want to start a little bit with Nadya, your background. Some people may be very familiar with who you are, but I think there are a lot of people out there who know your name and maybe don't really know your story. You spent 2 years, you were sentenced to 2 years in prison in Russia under Putin for protesting Putin. You have a very specific vantage point at which to come at the situation between Russia and Ukraine. Why don't you tell folks a little bit your background and journey, how you would frame it?
My name is Nadya. I started with a couple of colleagues of mine and a protest art collective that's called Pussy Riot. It's a fun name to travel with and say at the border, what is your profession? My profession is Pussy Riot. Hate borders, hate governments, hate nation states. I'm an anarchist, and a lot of people who are part of Pussy Riot are anarchists. And our goals from the very beginning were feminism, protecting LGBTQ plus people in Russia. They're in a really terrible position, and fighting with authoritarianism. And our ultimate goal is to get rid of Vladimir Putin. And he doesn't like us, understandably so. We were organizing since 2007 in order to remove him from power because we always believed that it's dangerous to concentrate such an incredible power in hands of really just one individual. And what's happening today in Ukraine just shows that we were right. The world was wrong when they didn't hear us about screaming about dangers of Vladimir Putin's power. And, he basically decided by himself that he is going to destroy lives of so many Ukrainians. He's going to destroy peace in Europe. And that's what happens when one person accumulates too much power. In 2012, we ended up in prison for 2 years. I served 2 years in a labor camp, was psychologically tortured, and also had to work at the very outdated equipment that resulted in multiple injuries. I was released from jail, started a couple of organizations. One of them is Media Zone, that became one of the most influential media outlet these days in Russia. And I started an organization that helps prisoners, especially female prisoners in Russia. And ever since, keep creating my art, and other members of Pussy Riot, and we have a lot of members because it's I refer to Pussy Riot as the first ever existing DAO, because we never had any leaders. Everyone, the organization was really flat, and if you have any sort of leadership, it's based on respect and based on your expertise in certain areas. But we didn't have any set of leaders, and even I, as a co-founder of Pussy Riot, didn't have any more power than anyone else who joined later. A year ago, I started my journey in crypto, and I believe that we can use crypto as an amazing tool for activism. We are building something that's called Pussyverse that will bring much more equality for women and LGBTQ plus people in digital art space, because right now it's not equal enough. And so we've been working on that for the last year. And when a war in Ukraine happened, when Putin started war in Ukraine, it became a really quickly obvious for me and Trippy and other people involved in UkraineDAO, in UkraineDAO today, that we should use our connections and should use all our resources, people we're in touch with, because we're in touch with incredible people, and that's what I love about crypto. Everyone has unique expertise in something, and they're ready to contribute it to a greater cause. And that's what we're seeing happening today with UkraineDAO.
Amazing. So we're going to obviously talk quite a bit about UkraineDAO, but I want to ask you, as somebody who is arguably had a better read on Putin from the beginning than others. As you said, the world didn't listen, and you guys have been quite literally screaming and singing about this for a long time. Can you give folks context into what you feel Putin's goal is here? You hear like he just wants to stop NATO expansion into Ukraine. Is this something more sinister where we are facing World War III and this is a Hitler figure? Like, what is your read on what this situation is and what the end goal is here?
Putin is quite desperate, and nobody expected a war in Ukraine. Ukraine was not an aggressor. He started a war in Ukraine out of the blue. Nothing, nothing led to that, and it makes him a really dangerous figure just because we don't really know what happens in his brain. I think his brain is quite. I didn't really know what happens in that brain, but he definitely doesn't think as a normal person. I think there is some level of sociopathy happening right now, because I don't really understand how you can just invade peaceful country out of the blue. What is his goal? The biggest trauma for Putin all his life, and he said about it out loud multiple times. He believes that the biggest tragedy of the 20th century was the fall of Soviet Union. He called it the biggest geopolitical catastrophe. And I believe that because of the last 22 years, he had close to absolute power. He really believed in that he is this historical figure who is sent to the world from above to restore Soviet Union. He was trained as a KGB agent. He sees the world in Cold War paradigm, us against them. He doesn't really know how to communicate with people, how to collaborate. His mind is really outdated, so he's not the right figure to represent my country on a national level. But unfortunately, he still has his power. I think I'm not able to read his mind, but as far as I can tell, he wants to divide Ukraine in fashion, in Eastern Western Germany fashion, to protect himself from NATO, from European influences.
I think what's fascinating, how closely it does feel like it echoes World War II in the sense of like lost German pride, lost of their sense of their place in the world. A leader comes along who can seem, who taps into that frustration and promises to restore that sense of pride and that sense of dominance. Like, it's chilling. It feels like the kind of similar, the echoes there.
Yeah, and I think it's scary because we see this happening throughout the world. It's happening at such a large scale between Russia and Ukraine right now, but this sense of nationalism or seeing a certain type of people as being more valuable than another for whatever which historical reason is quite crazy. And there's groups all over the world who face such travesties daily because of it.
Regarding your question about Third World War, there's I don't think anyone can tell, but stakes are really high right now. Putin's generals are saying that they have their nuclear power prepared for an action, and after they actually started a war and people are dying, I'm not skeptical about them going even crazier and actually starting starting a nuclear bomb explosion or something.
How did you
I'm losing my English, guys.
Yeah, well, understandable.
Can I speak in Russian?
I unfortunately cannot speak any Russian. How did you see Russia evolve in your, like, over your lifespan? And like, has Putin, been the same man, or do you think the megalomania is getting worse?
I think he's getting more power. He's consolidating more power. I'm not okay. I think this is a valuable work to try to read Putin's mind. I am not one of those who like to think about Putin just for the sake of my mental health. I don't think about him, and whenever people ask me what do I tell him if I see him, nothing. I think just what's important for me that this amount of power doesn't have to be consolidated in hands with one single individual. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad. We don't have a lot of stories of good dictators. It's just, and I just generally, I guess like what I want to say here is the world that is committed to ideals of democracy, they have to act much tougher on people like autocrats from Russia, from China, from North Korea, from India. They cannot just play nice just because they want to make business with them. I believe that it leads to situations like the one that we see today. So if you really want to live by your ideals, I think situations like Putin had to be sanctioned in 2014, and Crimea was next, because he didn't start full-blown war, but he invaded a different country, and believed that the world had to react at that time. Now it's a little bit too late, but it's better, better late than never, right?
Let's talk about UkraineDAO, because this is obviously the thing that we really want to get to here, and the work you're doing to help folks on the ground. Give a little context into what UkraineDAO is, how it operates, and then we'll dive in deeper.
UkraineDAO was formed 3-4 days ago. When war started, it was formed immediately. Have folks from all different countries and backgrounds. Have a lot of Ukrainians here. And we, what was important for us is to be as close as we can to Ukrainians who are on the ground and listen from them. Where do they want to use the money? And so we're making this preparational work for 2 days to had a lot of discussions where should we send funds, and had conversations with the fund itself. And we decided finally to channel the money from this current sale and the current raise to a foundation is called Come Back Alive. And in particular, they're going to use this money for medical help to Ukrainians that suffer from the war. How it operates, just as a regular DAO. We have a couple of chats. We have have Discord. We have multi-sig, and it's flat. It's pretty flat. We don't have leaders.
And there are kind of two tracks, if I understood it correctly. There's make a straight donation using crypto to this organization, which is essentially a donation to then come back alive. And then you have this Ukrainian flag NFT piece of it. Can you just explain how that works?
You can donate directly if you prefer not to play NFT games. But I feel like this is such a powerful uniting symbol for us. Ukrainian flag. We had a lot of conversations in the first day of existence of our DAO about should it be, whose artwork should it be? Because we wanted to initially make a 10K project with somebody else's artworks, and then we decided to do one of one, but whose artwork should it be? And then I said that it's not actually about anyone's aesthetics. It's not about what color you prefer. It is about Ukraine. It's about Ukrainians. That's why we picked the Ukrainian flag, and in a way, it's a strong conceptual art statement from us regarding this situation, because I feel like right now we need to get rid as much as we can of our egos and do not care about being credited or that much. I mean, you can't fully get rid of your ego, but I guess that's a statement that goes behind this flag. We all unite to help Ukrainians to survive and defend themselves and defend their motherland.
And so is it 10,000 individual Ukrainian flag NFTs that folks purchase, or you're coming together to bid on this one NFT?
It's just a one of one that we're party bidding on, and then a .eth address that people can donate to. We originally thought of doing 10,000 NFTs and thought that it would be too convoluted, and we just want this could go on for a while, and we could come up with a lot of other iterations, but thought it was important to have a clear, concise way to get the first round of money to people on the ground.
And you've raised at this point nearly 4 million or over. Where are you all at in terms of your fundraising efforts?
I think it's 4.4. I don't know here on my computer. I think it's 4.4.
Is the plan to keep this open and running indefinitely so long as there's a war?
No, the wallet address is going to be valid indefinitely as long as the war is going to happen. But our one of one is going to close in a day and a half.
Why did an NFT sale feel important for this? And Trippy, this is, I know, something you maybe also wanted to say something on, like the importance of NFTs and crypto.
Well, we think with crypto, we're avoiding a lot of red tape that comes with traditional fundraising. Also, the community, crypto Twitter is a vigorous community that loves to unite behind important causes. So after the successful year a lot of people have had in crypto, setting up these DAOs and initiatives to channel some of those wins and some of those earnings into the places that where capital is most needed. I think that's exactly what we should be doing if we're going to be setting an example for how capital should be stewarded.
I think the question was like, why do we decide to use NFT instead of just publicizing a wallet?
I think the gamification around the party bid, and I think that draws a lot more interest to it. It's kind of following a model that has been seen to work for FreeRoss or Constitution or Assange DAO. I think it entices people to be charitable more so. Is that what you think, Nadya?
I think so, and I would like to just reiterate that I feel like Ukrainian flag here is an artistic statement, and me and Trippy and other people involved in the DAO, a lot of us are artists, so having this statement was important for us.
Mm-hmm. And when you speak of that gamification, Trippy, it's that y'all are bidding and then somebody else comes along and bid, and you have that sort of competition in a way that inspires folks to okay, I'm going to give a little more so that we win the bid. Is that what you're describing in that?
Yeah, it's inspiring for people and also fun to. Are we going to win the bid together collectively, or is some whale going to come in and win it on their own? And there's a fun story around that that's much more interesting than just donating to an address.
I had someone coming in at 1050 ETH, and maybe someone will come with even more. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. And Nadya, do you have anything you want to say or thoughts more broadly on the role of crypto and NFTs sort of in repressive regimes? Obviously, we're starting to see this with folks who are crypto's their only source of wealth, but I think it'd be interesting to hear you speak on that a little bit.
It's fairly difficult to use fiat when you are an activist in an oppressive regime. Banks are frozen your accounts because it's so easy for rugged courts to just froze your bank accounts.
I am so grateful for you coming on talking about this. So we'll have
Thank
you back
you.
on someday to talk about all the other amazing work you've
I'd
done.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. and for now, at least we have a little something we can get out talking about this project in particular, because I think it is so important.
Awesome.
And thank you for coming on.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for everything
much.
you've done. Trippy, are there any last points you would like to raise, things you feel like we didn't get to cover about UkraineDAO specifically, or this more broadly that you want to get out there for folks? We'll obviously include links for anybody who wants to contribute. Are there other thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'd say other thoughts in general is people are reaching out how to help besides just donating or sharing. I think sharing it around on social media is super helpful. I think sharing it directly into private group chats with context and explaining in a few sentences why this initiative is particularly important to can be more beneficial. Also, diving deep into the Discord and actually being a part of the community and coming and participating, that's seeing the Discord be as active as possible and people convening on ideas and helping to direct where things go in the future. That's the most important. And just with FreeRossDAO, we saw a lot of energy at the beginning, and then after some of the news died off, who was really left around to really figure this thing out long term. So that's where I would press people, like, really be a part of the community on Discord in depth if it's something that calls to.
Well, I would love to have you on as well. I would love to talk more about FreeRossDAO. I was tracking that at the time, and I've always found the Ross Ulbricht story interesting. And obviously, you are a tremendous artist as well. And so we will have to talk again. I won't muddy this episode. I think we keep the main thing here, which is obviously the situation in Ukraine and the work y'all are doing. But would love to have you back to talk more broadly about the work you're doing in the space, which is varied and many initiatives.
Yeah, we'd love to come back, and I'm in the car. Nadia's moving around, or just getting off the plane. We'll both be able to talk with more clear internet connections. But thanks for rushing this out. It means a lot, and even if it's a bit chopped together, it's the best we can do in times of lessons.
At the end of the day, lot worse going on in the world than some choppy audio. So really grateful for you coming on, making the time, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate you a lot.
Thanks, Trippy. Bye.
Bye.